Hello, I'm Elane, and you're watching the Midday Update. Now, in today's lead stories, KL, Selangor, and Putrajaya to move to phase 2 of the NRP from tomorrow. And later, I'll be speaking to two guests, SOMA SUNDRAM, CEO of the Malaysian Institute of Estate Agents, or MIEA, and we'll be speaking about the topic of outlook of the property market. And joining me later as well is Allied Coordinating Committee of Islamic NGOs CEO, JAMALIDIN SHAMSUDIN, and we'll be speaking about the topic of Raising Hope Virtual Charity Concert. Now, in our top story today, one of the most awaited news for many, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri has announced that Kuala Lumpur, Selangor and Putrajaya will transition to phase 2 of the National Recovery Plan on Friday, the 10th of September. Now you can rejoice. Cross-district travel between Kuala Lumpur, Selangor and Putrajaya will be allowed, and added that all roadblocks will be lifted. The Special Committee on Pandemic Management decided on the matter during a meeting on Wednesday, which is the 8th of September, and the committee has decided to combine Selangor with the Federal Territories of Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya so that the entity can be treated as one common infection area. I think this makes things a lot easier for everyone. So in short, movement between these states is allowed and there will be no more roadblocks. In our next story, if you're unsure and are wondering what are the activities allowed under phase 2, here are some points to note. Inter-district traveling for fully vaccinated individuals, interstate travel for long-distance married couples who are fully vaccinated, interstate travel for fully vaccinated parents to see their children under 18, dining in at eateries for fully vaccinated customers, intrastate tourism activities involving accommodation in hotels and homestays for fully vaccinated individuals. And those are some of the ones that have been allowed. An extra note here for states under phase 2 and phase 3, additional flexibility to operate is allowed for barbers, hairdressers and beauty salons, and you can get your hair done. Of course, the latest SOP will be updated by the NEC and the relevant ministry, so stay tuned for that. Now, along with a large portion of the nation's workforce working from home since the beginning of the pandemic, the type of properties that buyers are purchasing is also evolving. Now, this is reflected in Malaysia's property transaction data from the first quarter of 2021, which finds that home buyers are favouring larger, more spacious units in between the range of 300,000 ringgit to 500,000 ringgit. Now, Property Guru DataSense Managing Director says that many employees can now opt for areas further away with lower density and more spacious layouts, which could comfortably fit a home office. Perks of working from home. Now, joining me, SOMA SUNDRAM, CEO of the Malaysian Institute of Estate Agents, or MIEA, to speak to us about the topic of the outlook of the property market. Hello, welcome, SOMA. Now, I'll go straight into the first question. Now, in general, amidst the pandemic, can you give us a sense of what is currently happening in the property market here?
Thank you, Elane and Bernama, for inviting us to make some comments. We are very happy to say that though the market is subdued over the last 2 years, there is still great hope that the market will rebound in the months ahead, though may not be as fast as what it would have been in the last few years. So I think it'll be good for us to look at the transaction data, if you can show that in 2016 there were 320,000 transactions. Compared to 2020, there were 295,000 transactions. So compared to last year, 2019, there was only a shift of about 9.9%, lower than the previous year. So actually, it's not a big number. It's only 10%. And as such, I can say that the movement is not that great. There is still demand, and over the last many months, from the survey that we recently conducted together with University Tunku Abdul Rahman, there is a feedback that though there are certain sectors that is affected, certain sectors are still doing a little bit well. Example, the new properties division in real estate, there are many sectors. One is residential, comprising of secondary market and new properties. We have got commercial, industrial, and agriculture. The most significant of the market share is residential, and followed by agriculture, and then followed by commercial, industrial. So the residential sector constitutes around 60% of the market. So that is the gauge of what the property market is doing, and more so because most of them are investing in properties. So looking at the entire scenario, property market is subdued because there's no economic activity, nobody is going out, and so because of this, there is slowdown, but the slowdown will pick up in the months ahead.
Now let's take a look at this. The recent property data also shows that there is a higher demand for sub-sale, 44.7% year on year. Why is this happening, and what does this mean, Soma?
I read that. Actually, if you really look at the data, there is demand. There is demand for the second new properties, because new properties, the developers are giving a lot of incentives. They are also, the government is also under the HOC program, giving incentives, and you don't need to really go and see the property. So a lot of transactions in the last 1 year has been focused on the new properties. There also have been reported that secondary properties are also doing very well. So if you look at the whole scenario, though subdued, there are transactions going on. Now, there was a question raised earlier that the secondary market, the landed properties are being demanded more.
Yes, that's right. So apparently there's a trend towards more landed properties. Is that what's happening?
It is not really true, because from the feedback, see, estate agents work on the ground. So we get this feedback on the ground. We don't depend on reports. The estate agents have reported that a lot of people who live in condominiums have found that because now they are stuck at home for months, they realize the space is too small.
Yes, that's right.
So now they are tending to move away from condominiums to landed property. That is the feedback we have got. But those who can do that are those who got that ability to invest in a new property. So only those who can do that actually have invested into. It's not that everybody is jumping into new landed properties.
But of course, the ability to move further away to buy landed properties with the advent of working from home has facilitated that process as well. So as we mentioned earlier, most Malaysians cannot afford local housing anymore, which is of course very ironic given that there's a housing supply glut at an all-time high. What's more, Malaysia's GDP has shrunken 5.6% in 2020 due to the pandemic, but house prices continue to increase. We were talking about 0.3% on average. Now, how can it be that at a time of an unprecedented health crisis and economic downturn, average house prices are still rising? Perhaps you can share your thoughts.
No, actually, it's a misunderstood concept. It's an anomaly. It's not true. Though prices of properties are going up, there is still a lot of demand for properties. If you look at the facts, if you look at in 2016, there were 203,000 units sold. In 2020, 191,000 units sold. So if you look at both these 2 years, 2006 was a very good year for the property market, and 2020 was not that good. Only 11,000 units difference. So it does not show that Malaysians can't really afford. But because the population base is growing and income level is down, so because of that, a lot of them can't afford, because the property prices will go up on a year-to-year basis. If you look at the house price index, the price have been going up every year. So even though it's a pandemic year, because of construction costs, because scarcity of land, because of labor costs, and all this you put together, cost of properties will go up. It will not go down. Even in the last 1 year, from the feedback we got from our agents down on the ground, they said that the movement of price have been probably in the region of 10 to 20% compared to the previous years, and that is not very significant.
Now, so Soma, I just want to interrupt you because we're sort of running out of time. Perhaps a last message to those who are thinking whether they should be buying, not buying. Where do you stand?
Buy. because the
But
property market is down. The general sentiment, all our agents say this is a good time to buy because property prices are down. Once pandemic over, business activity starts, prices are going to go up, and then you'll say, oh, I missed the last turn, like what you have said in the many years in the past. So please go and get a property as soon as possible.
thank you so much, Soma, for that tip. So if you're in the market for a property, this is the best time to buy. Go ahead and jump in. That was, of course, Soma Sundram, CEO of the Malaysian Institute of Estate Agents, MIEA. Thank you for joining us. We were speaking about the outlook of the property market. Now, in our next story, Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa has announced some of the following points. The reopening of 8 creative industry sectors from today for the transition from pandemic to endemic phase is very much needed, and the move will bring relief to over 1 million artists and workers. Now, the easing of restrictions was also necessary for the industry, as the creative sector was among the most affected, or those that are most affected, when all activities were seized during the MCO, or Movement Control Order, last year. As well, during the pandemic, the creative sector workers who were mostly worked on contract or freelance basis were very much affected, as they had no fixed income due to the nature of their job, and much had to depend on donations or alms for survival. Now, to note, Anwar Musa also reminded the creative industry players to continue to comply with all guidelines and SOPs that have been set by the MKN, and further details on the SOPs and guidelines for all phases can be found at the www.kkmm.gov.my. Now, despite COVID-19 hardships, Malaysians still help others to a more hopeful future. NGOs have teamed up to help the needy during the pandemic in a truly substantial and remarkable show of support. A Malaysian Solidarity Fund against COVID-19 raised more than 27 million ringgit in just 3 months. Now, the fund was only started in June this year by a coalition of 20 multiracial and multi-faith non-governmental organizations, and the money raised benefited both men, women, and children throughout the country. Now, the coming together of NGOs has, of course, sparked this next big event. A concert aptly named Raising Hope will be streamed to the public for free on Facebook this Saturday, on the 11th of September, from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. The glittering lineup includes iconic songbird Francesca Peters, singer and dancer Sean Ghazi, singer-songwriter Vince Chong, former champion of Malaysian Idol Daniel Lee, and Penang songbird Dasha Logan herself as well. All artists involved in the concert will be performing pro bono. Now, to share more details on the Raising Hope virtual charity concert, joining me is Allied Coordinating Committee of Islamic NGOs CEO Muhammad JAMALIDin SHAMSUDIN. Hello, welcome, Jamal. Now, Raising Hope, we know, is going to be a charity concert over the weekend, but in essence, Raising Hope is an initiative more than that. How so, Jamal? Tell us. Jamal, we can't hear you. I think you might be on mute. Oh, I think we're experiencing some technical difficulty. We still can't hear Jamal at this point of time. Okay. Well, we'll come back to Jamal slightly later. In our next story, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri announced that the government has provided and will continue to provide financial, employment, or training incentives to ensure that no one is left behind during the COVID-19 pandemic, while at the same time make plans to exit this health crisis. The commitment is to increase opportunities, provide room for job seekers to fend for themselves, as well as to continue to be productive. Now, Keluarga Malaysia, or the Malaysian family, sums up the spirit of the nation as we continue to focus on the national development agenda and make sure our fellow Malaysians are taken care of. In our next story, Transport Minister Dr. Wee Ka Siong says that the 500 ringgit per Merkasa Plus assistance for 27,627 e-hailing drivers who have yet to receive it will be paid out from Friday onwards, which is the 10th of September. The remaining portion of the assistance was received by the Land Public Transport Agency, APAD, on the 3rd of September. Now, APAD is currently processing the payment through Hong Leong Bank, appointed by the government, and the payment will be auto-credited to the bank accounts of the 27,627 drivers. So look out for it in your bank accounts. Based on APAD information, 56,092 e-hailing drivers are eligible to receive this 500 ringgit assistance, and said that the agency disbursed this assistance to 28,465 eligible drivers between the 26th of July and 6th of August. And if you're itching to head to the cinemas, movie buffs might have to wait several more days to enjoy watching the latest film in theaters, as both GSC, which is Golden Screen Cinemas, as well as TGV Cinemas, have decided not to open for business today, despite the government's recent green light for the creative industry. In a separate announcement, both companies say their decision to delay the reopening of their theaters, despite being allowed from today, was a precautionary move as they wait for a finalized SOP from the National Security Council. Now, cinemas, live and recorded entertainment broadcast, live creative performance, indoor basking, art galleries, museums, and showrooms were among the activities allowed to operate under Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob's latest announcement, albeit with limited capacities and only for fully vaccinated individuals. Now we'll try to reconnect with Jamal. Jamal, can you hear us?
Yes, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Perfect. Now let's quickly do a quick wrap on this. I mentioned earlier that Raising Hope is more than just a charity concert. Tell us a little bit more about this initiative, Jamal.
Thank you, Elane. I think, as you mentioned, it's a truly substantial and remarkable show of support in a situation where all of us are in difficulty. There has been a very powerful sense of togetherness, and concern for each other. The whole Malaysian Solidarity COVID-19 Fund was created in early June, when in May, at the end of May, there was a lot of requests from COVID hospitals requesting for specialized equipments in the ICU and so on. So Searchy Humanitarian Fund, Buddhist Searchy Humanitarian Fund started the fund, and in early June, they got the support of of about 20 NGOs, multi-faith NGOs, including ACCIN, which is the Allied Coordinating Committee of Islamic NGOs Malaysia, ABIM, Global Peace, Catholic Bishop Conference Malaysia, Sanikram, and quite a number of the different Buddhist organizations. So there's 20 multi-faith organizations getting together, and we worked together for 3 months, and thank God we managed to collect 27 million ringgit.
Wow. That's just really amazing to hear that, everybody has come together to contribute and make this work. And of course, I wanted to ask you about the word unity. It's bandied around a lot, but so much negativity out there is still drowning out what we want to achieve. Does Raising Hope have any campaigns that we can help with this?
The whole idea was actually to create this togetherness, to solve ataupun to face the pandemic. And Elane, it's unbelievable. The level of unity, respect for each other, concern out there is tremendous. I think that is actually translated in the effort. And this Raising Hope, we mentioned that it's Raising Hope because this is what we need to raise our hopes out of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we have this wonderful concert that will be the finale of this Malaysian Solidarity COVID Fund that will be held on the 11th of September. And the whole list of entertainers and people who are going to speak on that night is tremendous. And all of them are doing it pro bono in support of this fund. And all donations are tax exempt, yeah? All donations are tax exempt.
Fantastic.
For an evening and just relax and enjoy yourself from 8 to 11 p.m.
That's fantastic. Now, you are very passionate about interfaith relationships. Why is that? And what must we understand if we need to move forward as a society and as a nation, Jamal?
A good interfaith relationship, I think it's tremendously important. It's the basis, the platform of unity in the country. So my personal involvement in interfaith goes back to 2008. Yeah? And from over these 13 years, I've learned so much that all of us are the same. We want goodness, we want peace, we want happiness, we want respect for each other. And the qualities are the same for all of us. And with that, I think we can move forward very positively. I'll give you one example. I think I need to share this. Even those Malaysians who are working overseas, who have left overseas, have shown significant concern. You know, it is quite surprising. For example, one of these gentlemen who works, a Malaysian who works in Hong Kong for a long time, when Sept, for example, approached them and he decided to donate 1 million ringgit for donations of COVID fund.
We are all Malaysians at heart, no matter where we are.
Yeah, but the story doesn't end there, because 1 month later, when the situation got worse in July, he donated a further 2 million ringgit.
Wow.
I mean,
this is really heartwarming to hear.
Yeah. Fantastic. There's a lot of heartwarming stories, but I think we only got 6 minutes or 5 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. So I think in closing, perhaps would you like to share a message to all our viewers out there?
My message from our group, the Malaysian Solidarity COVID Fund, is to come join the concert, Raising Hope concert, online charity concert on the 11th of September. Enjoy your evening, and if possible, please donate as much as you can. There is no small figure. A ringgit will also be as good as giving 1 million. So let's all enjoy in the spirit of togetherness, in the spirit of unity, respect for each other, support for each other, to make Malaysia a great nation with God's will. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and for the efforts to bring this together. It's so heartwarming to hear that the Malaysian public has come together to make this happen. There was, of course, speaking directly to us, the Allied Coordinating Committee of Islamic NGOs CEO, Muhammad JAMALIDIN SHAMSUDIN, telling us about the Raising Hope virtual charity concert. Don't forget to catch it for free this Saturday on Facebook, 11 September 2021. And I'm going on to some snapshots of some news from the international front. COVAX vaccine 2021 delivery target cut to 1.425 billion doses. This is according to the World Health Organization, WHO, and UNICEF. The COVAX vaccine sharing facility will likely receive 1.425 billion doses of anti-COVID-19 shots from donor countries this year, down from a July estimate of 2 billion. Now, reasons for the cut include export restrictions on key supplier, which is Serum Institute of India or SII, and manufacturing problems at Johnson & Johnson, as well as AstraZeneca, as well as delays in the regulatory review of shots developed by US biotech firm Novavax, and China's Clover Biopharmaceuticals were further limiting factors. Next, WHO seeks COVID-19 vaccines for poor nations and not empty promises. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has said it was now down to manufacturers and rich countries to deliver pledged COVID-19 vaccine doses to low-income countries to ease global health inequalities. About 80% of the 5.5 billion vaccine doses that have been administered globally went to high and upper middle income countries. WHO has set a target to enable every country to vaccinate at least 40% of the population by the end of this year. And still on COVID vaccine, India gave more jabs than G7 nations combined in August. India administered more than 180 million doses in August as it continues to ramp up its vaccination drive to stave off a third wave of COVID. And this was more doses than all of the Group 7 or G7 countries, Canada, the UK, the US, Italy, Germany, France, and Japan combined. India has so far given more than 700 million doses of the 3 approved jabs. And next, EU lists rare nerve disorder as possible side effect of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Europe's medicines regulator has added an extremely rare nerve-damaging disorder, Guillain-Barré syndrome, as a possible side effect of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, and regular safety updates from the watchdog showed on September 8. And the next story, Mexican president says court ruling on abortion should be respected. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador says a landmark Supreme Court ruling that women should not be punished for abortion must be respected. López Obrador has avoided giving his personal opinion on what is a divisive issue in the conservative nation. And Russian Minister Yevgeny Zinoviev dies during training exercise in the Arctic. Russia's Emergency Minister Yevgeny Zinoviev has died in an accident in a civil defense exercise. The ministry said Zinoviev, 55, had died in the Norilsk area while trying to save someone's life. A cameraman had fallen off a cliff during this interview, and Zinoviev rushed after the fallen man and died after hitting a protruding rock. The cameraman, later named as film director Alexander Melnik, 63, also died. Now from there, I move on to some quick updates on Twitter, trending stories on Twitter. Phase 2, people are happy today, tweeting about Phase 2 after the announcement from Prime Minister Ismail Sabri about Klang Valley, KL and Selangor to move into Phase 2 starting tomorrow. And the vaccine, this is the next trending story on Twitter. Vaccine is trending on Twitter today as more than 50% of Malaysia's total population have been fully vaccinated, and Twitter users were sharing tweets to encourage people who didn't get the vaccine yet to be vaccinated. And in closing, please do get vaccinated, wear a mask, it will save lives. And the government is also looking at further revising down the COVID-19 self-test kits by the end of this year to make them more accessible, to also look up for that. And also, don't forget, Raising Hope virtual charity concert for Malaysian Solidarity Fund is on the 11th of September 2021, this Saturday, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Facebook, free for all. Let's join and participate and enjoy a wonderful evening. Kita jaga kita. That's all from us at the Midday Update. I'm Elane, Noor, Abdullah. Bye for now.